Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
The global supply chain.
We've reached a critical point here.
Not having enough labor is really a problem right now.
Paying people not to work with unemployment, expanded benefits.
More advantageous to stay home rather than going back to work.
Inflation
hitting a 13-year high.
People are panicked about inflation.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It is News and Views for a Friday. Numerous media outlets are reporting on the situation with Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, the former Marine battalion commander who was relieved of his duties after he criticized the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan. Turns out he will get a letter of reprimand, which is what his attorney said yesterday he thought would happen. He also will forfeit $5,000 in pay. His attorney, Tim Parlator, representing him, he said elected member. Well, let me get to this first. He submitted his resignation, and the Secretary of Navy will decide what the appropriate characterization of his service, whether it's an honorable or a general under honorable circumstances discharge. He was facing several charges, including disrespect towards superior commissioned officers, willfully disobeying a superior commissioned officer, and conduct unbecoming an officer. The judge in the case said he does not condone Scheller's offenses, but noted his 17-year career with the Marines, saying that prior to this social media incident, he was an officer with an outstanding record, a record he said he weighed heavily in his favor. Interestingly, there were two members of Congress. One was a congressman from Georgia who testified. Also, Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert testified at yesterday's hearing. In his testimony, Gohmert said, "I don't know how anybody could expect, after people like Stu Scheller, to go to Afghanistan, fight beside others, and then have people at the top thoughtlessly decide it's time to surrender. What moron could not have figured out that when you put the Taliban in charge of the safety, security, and lives of our military, that was going to work out well?" Louis Gohmert has a way of putting things in the same way that we think about them. Thank you, Louis. The attorney for Scheller, Tim Parlator, said elected members of Congress, they represent the public. They can come in and talk about what their constituents think, what their reactions were. Any elected official that contacted us and said they wanted to come, we're going to have them testify. And, of course, Louis Gohmert was the biggest name that came in and testified for him. So at the end of the day, any confinement by Lieutenant Colonel Scheller is over with. He is a free man today. He will forfeit $5,000 in pay and got a letter of reprimand. You know, I think the public reaction to Scheller's situation was such that there would have been a huge outcry. There already was. That's, I think, one of the reasons why it came down to a letter of reprimand. I think the fact that Scheller pleaded guilty to the charges that were brought up against him probably worked in his favor. But members of Congress and members of the public were not happy about what our military has done under the Biden administration. And I think Lieutenant Colonel Scheller, even though he spoke out of turn, was speaking words of truth that a lot of Americans agreed with. The Daily Caller is reporting 2/3 of Republican voters endorsed former President Donald Trump's potential bid for office for the 2024 presidential election. This, according to a new poll, 51% of Republican and Republican-leaning respondents in the new Morning Consult Politico poll said that Trump should definitely run again. 16% of them responded that he probably should launch a presidential campaign in 2024. The poll surveyed 2,000 registered voters between October the 8th and October the 11th. Only 14% of Republicans strongly opposed a Trump reelection bid, while 15% of them said he should probably not run again, and 4% had no opinion. So although 67% of Republicans thought Trump should run in 2024. 82% of them had a generally favorable view of Trump. It means that 15% of the GOP voters viewed the former president in a positive light but wanted to see a new face in the White House. So in the same poll, they said, okay, well, if you don't want Trump, who else do you want? I'm rather surprised by this. According to this poll, former Vice President Mike Pence garnered the most support, followed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, it doesn't surprise me that Ron DeSantis came in third behind Trump and Pence, but I'm sorry, Mike Pence? Now, I like Mike Pence. He's a nice guy, but I don't think Mike Pence is the fighter that we need in the White House right now. I think Mike Pence likes to be liked, and he likes to have everything calm and everybody happy. And I'm sorry, where we are as a country right now, we need a fighter. Now, I'm not necessarily saying we need someone that's caustic, but, and I wouldn't put Trump in the, he might be close to caustic. I wouldn't put him in the caustic category, but someone who is a fighter, and I think that describes Ron DeSantis. I think it describes Donald Trump. I don't think it describes Mike Pence. Interestingly, another name that has come up this week, and I would say this guy would be in the fighter category, Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State. Apparently there's a lot of folks, this is out of Town Hall, Kurt Schlechter is reporting that there are some pretty strong murmurings behind the scene that Mike Pompeo intends to throw his hat in the ring for the 2024 presidential primary. Now, you know, it's still eons away to the next presidential election, but those people that are thinking about running, they have to be contemplating pretty strongly right now. They've got to be putting out feelers to see, okay, is this a possibility? Can I get the verbal support? Can I get the financial support? Can I get the votes? Mike Pompeo was definitely a loyal soldier to President Trump. You know, the big question is, would Mike Pompeo run once and assuming that Trump would declare that he is running? He hasn't said so yet, although obviously with these rallies, Trump's already considering, basically he's already campaigning. Now, the question is he campaigning for America, or is he campaigning for himself to run as the next president? I would think it's the latter. He was it Grover Cleveland is the only other president in the history of the United States who was president, was out of office, and then was reelected to the presidency. So Donald Trump, he might pull a Grover Cleveland move. But it would be interesting to see, and look, I shed this in a positive light. Now, this piece by Kirk Schlechter, he's basically poo-pooing the idea that Mike Pompeo would have a shot at this. I don't know. But I would say this. It would be great to see a primary with the likes of Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and Mike Pompeo as the three men vying for the presidency. I mean, those are three strong conservatives. I'd be tickled with any one of them. We'll see where it goes. Interestingly, if you're a betting man or woman in politics, there's a website called usbookies.com. It's a political betting website. And guess who has the lead to win the 2024 presidential election? Now, this is all candidates. This is Democrat and Republican. We're talking about the general election now at this point. Donald Trump. Trump's odds have improved from 13-2 which is basically a 13% implied probability that he would win, to 7-2, which is a 22% that he would probably win. Those odds have just increased in 1 week. At the same time, Kamala Harris is going in the wrong direction. Joe Biden is basically staying the same. In recent months, the 2024 election betting market saw Kamala Harris and Joe Biden trading places as the favorite, but Trump's recent surge has put him atop the list, according to U.S. bookies. At the same time, Biden failed to notice any change in his odds. Kamala's have worsened. Last week, Kamala Harris was 7-2, 22%, favored to win the 2024 election, with Joe Biden following at 4.1%. And why do we have music coming over top of us? Are you trying to enhance the Kamala Harris story? The website has Republicans as the odds-on favorite to win back the majority control of the House and the Senate in November of 2022. There's no surprise there. The Republican Party is a 54% implied probability of taking back the control of the Senate and a 71% probability of taking back the House. Democrats, 32% to win the Senate, 33% to win the House. So right now I realize, we're a year away from the midterms. We're 3 years away from the presidential election. But right now, not looking good for the Dems. Hey, let's go ahead and take a timeout. And now you can bring in the music. Thank you, Mike. Lots more to talk about on Friday's edition of News and Views, so stay with us. I'll be right back.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet, because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Pasalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the two dining areas. You got two different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have two rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabello's and the great pizza that you get at Marabello's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see them at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Hi, I'm Richard Langley, and after helping my grandmother with an iPad she received as a gift, I realized how many other older adults may also have challenges with their own technology.
Happy Grandma specializes in helping with any tech issue you may be experiencing. Whether it's setting up a new computer or TV, having issues with the printer or Wi-Fi, or showing you how to use your tech, we want to help you. To make it easier, we come directly to you with a smile on our face.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough, get happy.
Happy Grandma Senior Tech Support.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast, Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina, Southern Living's best small town.
Ready! The game of politics.
It's game time. We're ready. A political football.
Gets exposed.
It's a bunch of politicians trying to score points.
Just one more political football.
This has been a very tough scrimmage between the two sides.
And when you compete, you have no guarantee you'll win.
And as a citizen referee,
they're ready to go. This is the playbook.
More battles to be won.
You can make the right call. On News and Views with Tom and Benny on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Taking a look at your weekend forecast. Tonight is going to be cool and clear, around 63. Tomorrow, pretty good. Most of the day, there's a 60% chance of rain late in the day into the evening. Otherwise, sunny with a high near 86. And then it cools down. Sunday is going to have lots of sunshine, but the high is only going to be 66. So enjoy your weekend. The rain coming in tomorrow night, it won't be too bad. A little rain shower overnight is probably good for everybody involved. So the White House's Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court Thursday released an initial report, and Democratic activists and progressives are not happy, which means the rest of us are happy. Initial reaction to packing the court was basically a thumbs down. Slate writer Mark Stern tweeted, "This report is an abomination. It assumes that today's Supreme Court is basically apolitical, while fretting that reforms with any real teeth would politicize it and potentially break democracy. Republicans must be thrilled with this outcome. It's a gift to the GOP." I would say that Republicans are thrilled, but the idea that you insinuate that suddenly the Supreme Court has become political. Can you go back to Roe v. Wade in 1972? You don't think it was political then? Quote, "We have said since the commission's beginning that for the commission to provide a meaningful contribution to restoring the legitimacy of our judiciary, it needs to advance a specific list of Supreme Court reforms that can be acted upon in the near term," American Constitution Society President Rush Feingold said in a statement. "The discussion materials released today unfortunately fail to match the urgency of the situation and do not lay out a solution to the legitimacy crisis before us." So both these guys, Joe Stern, Mark Joseph Stern, and this gentleman from this other American Constitution Society, Russ Feingold, don't you love the way they come up with these titles for themselves that make them sound like they're conservative? The idea, do you think packing the court, taking the court up to how many they want to take it to, 12, 13, 16? You don't think that was political? You don't think the fact that they were going to pack the court when Democrats controlled the Senate, the House, and the White House, that wasn't political? I mean, it's humorous how these individuals, if it's as long as somebody else's cow is getting gored, they're fine with it. And this is fair. This is equitable when we have the upper hand. I mean, Republicans have dealt with a highly politicized activist court system for decades. And the American people, through their elected officials, have made the court lean more traditional, more conservative. I would say more in line with what our founding fathers wanted. So what do they want to do? They want to rechange the whole system in their favor. But, that's not political. President Biden yesterday addressed the unacceptable high number of unvaccinated people in America and said his mandate for the private sector will go into effect soon. Quote, "While daily cases are down 47% nationally and hospitalizations are down 38% over the past 6 weeks, Biden said there are still 66 million unvaccinated Americans. This is down from 100 million in July." And again, I'm assuming when he says that, he means those people that can be vaccinated. Obviously, there are a lot of minors that shouldn't be vaccinated. I think he's talking about adults there, insisting that his vaccine mandates are working. Biden said the Department of Labor will soon be issuing an emergency rule for private sector companies with 100 or more employees. He also claimed misinformation is contributing to the division in the country over vaccine mandates rather than the mandates themselves, and vowed to battle it. Quote, the plan I laid out in September is working. We're headed in the right direction. But apparently Joe is going to come out with an executive order that would say that any private companies with 100 or more employees, all those employees must be vaccinated. To where does he get this authority? I mean, I know his boss, Obama, operated from the premise that he could bypass Congress when he had his infamous line, "I have a phone and a pen." Well, Obama could not legislate, and neither can Cousin Eddie. I'm sorry, Joe, you have no authority to order private businesses to force their employees to be vaccinated. You don't. And the Supreme Court ruled your administration out of line previously, dealing with the eviction moratorium. Basically, they said the same thing, that you cannot go through an agency, you cannot go through an executive order. What we're talking about here is something that would have to go through the legislature. They have to go through, past the House and the Senate. So, Joe, you cannot do this. And I'm sitting by waiting patiently for Republicans to come out loud and clearly, not just say, well, that's not fair, not just say, well, we're going to fight it in court, just ignore it. He has no authority to do this. Why are we listening to it, this kind of stuff? As he comes out with that, there's a new Gallup poll out. The majority of Americans are sick and tired of these kind of authoritarian mandates that have no real teeth because Biden doesn't have the authority to do this. In a Gallup poll released yesterday, the findings show that the majority of Americans favor having reduced government, saying the federal government is doing too much and they would prefer a hands-off approach. 52% of respondents said the government is doing too many things that should be left to individuals and businesses. 43% of respondents answered they want the government to do more. I'm assuming they're about 99% of those people are Democrats. Compared to Gallup's poll last year, where 54% of respondents said the government should do more. Again, that's now down 11 points to 43%. Broken down by political party, 80% of Republicans, 57% of independents, 18% of Democrats even say the government's trying to do too many things. In 2020, a year ago, those numbers were 47, 38, and 13% respectively. On the contrary, 15% of Republicans, 38% of independents, 78% of Democrats say the government should be doing more. Really, I would say those 15% of Republicans would have to be in the rhino category. Talking of COVID and what the government is doing, interestingly, all the negative flack that Ron DeSantis is getting in Florida, if you remember, in late September, Ron DeSantis announced he had secured more doses of life-saving antibody treatments for the Florida residents. His actions came despite the Biden administration taking control of the treatment and effectively reducing Florida's necessary supply. At the time, the governor posted a video announcing the move, captioned, "Governor DeSantis announces acquisition of additional doses of monoclonal antibody treatments to counteract the federal government's reducing the Florida supply of the Regeneron monoclonal treatments." The interesting thing about this is, what DeSantis has done is gone with these antibody treatments. He has made sure that Florida is wide open. Schools are wide open. Businesses are wide open. He has signed legislation that prevents mandating the vaccination, that prevents mandating mask wearing. And guess what? The rate of COVID-19 infections has plunged so rapidly that it has the third fastest descent in the rates of cases in the nation over the past 2 weeks. The only states in front of them are Alabama and Hawaii. And this out of the New York Times. The New York Times is reporting Florida's cases per 100,000 people over the last week was 13. Third only behind Connecticut and Hawaii. Both have rates of 11 cases per 100,000. Florida's 14-day change plunged 48%. Alabama fell 61%. Hawaii fell 51%. Interestingly, now Hawaii is a fairly liberal state, Alabama and Florida conservative. Interestingly, states on the other end of the spectrum that are going up in cases, all controlled by liberals. Colorado rose 32%, Vermont 27%, Michigan 26%, Minnesota 22%. Yeah. So good news for Ron DeSantis, and good news for those who are just saying, you know what, let's use some common sense. On September the 6th, Tennessee State University golfer John Stokes said in a since-deleted TikTok video that he would have to forego his senior season after developing myocarditis, which is an inflammatory disease of the heart muscle that can be activated by drugs, among other things, activated by toxins and hypersensitive immune reactions as well. A couple of weeks later, French professional tennis player Jeremy Chardy said he was no longer able to train or play in events after receiving the vaccine. He said that he regretted his decision to be vaccinated. And again, that was the same situation with John Stokes, that it was the vaccination that he received that caused the inflammation of his heart muscles. Now, Brandon Goodwin, former player for the Atlanta Hawks, said he was forced to stop playing for the NBA due to side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine. Cut one.
I got sick, then I never recovered from it. I always had back pain. You know, I was just super tired in the games. Like when we played Philly back to back, bro, I was so tired. Like I felt like I couldn't run up and down the court. And then my back was hurting. Then we went home, I think. That's when I started, my back really started hurting bad. And then I'm like, all right, I got to go to the doctor. And that's when I found out I had blood clots. That all happened in a span of a month. I was fine up until then. Up until I took the vaccine, I was fine. So people trying to tell you, no, it's not the vaccine. No, how do you know? You don't know. Yes, the vaccine ended my season. 1,000%.
So after he found out that he had blood clots, he was put on blood thinner. After he was put on blood thinner, the Atlanta Hawks said, you're not playing anymore. So right now, this all happened last spring. Right now, he's not playing for any teams. He thinks he's going to be picked up by somebody else. But, I granted, these situations for this Tennessee State golfer, John Stokes, for the French professional tennis player, Jeremy Chardy, and for Goodwin, granted, they're rare, but they do happen. And this false narrative that is trying to be projected on the vaccine is alarming. Again, I've said this often, the number of deaths related to the vaccine, if this was an annual flu vaccine, it would have been taken off the market. But, the other false narrative, we were talking yesterday about the fact that new studies out from the UK, from Harvard, an Israeli study, they're all pointing to the fact that it's very, very obvious that the vaccine has some positive attributes to it. That is, if you get COVID, your case will be much less severe. Chances are you'll just be at home, you'll have cold symptoms, and nothing more. For the vast majority. However, these new studies indicate that there is no difference in whether or not you can get COVID or whether you can give COVID if you have the vaccine. And our president has offered this false negative that get the vaccine and you're not going to have any issues. You won't get COVID if you get the vaccine. He said it numerous times. That is false information. And I would just say that this false narrative, in some cases, it's blatantly being spoken. In other cases, it's just being implied. But how many people are allowing themselves to be in a precarious situation? Perhaps they would be in a situation where they have comorbidities. And again, I talked about it earlier this week, the vast number of Americans, the chances of you dying of COVID is very, very small. But when you have these comorbidities, the chances go up. So how many people who have had the vaccination have thought, well, I'm in the clear, when because of their comorbidities, they should have been more cautious? And again, these pharmaceutical companies have immunity from suits. You know, they might have immunity from suits, but these private companies that are forcing people to get vaccinated, these state and local governments that are forcing people to get vaccinated, they don't have immunity. It's going to be interesting to see. Sooner or later, we're going to start seeing some lawsuits come down. Hey, we got to take another time out. When we come back, Marco Rubio. He's fired up on John Kerry. I'll tell you why. Stay with us.
Break the chain. Eat local. Tiebreakers.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
And with this executive order, we hereby bring you the news you need
24/7.
We don't need a slew of executive orders to keep our commitment to you. The news and the breaking news as it happens.
They know how to sniff out the big news. I made a sniffing joke.
Eastern Carolina's source for news is
Getting all the facts.
on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
It spells out
News and Views.
Welcome back in. So earlier this week, we were talking about Scott Smith. He is the dad of the ninth grader who attended a Loudoun County public high school. She was the young lady that was sexually assaulted in the restroom of the high school when a transgender, a biological male wearing a skirt, entered the same restroom she was in and assaulted her. It was severe and it was vile. I'll just leave it at that. Now, what's interesting about this, if you remember, Scott Smith was the dad. He was arrested because he came to tell of the situation about his daughter to the school board. Scott Ziegler, who was the superintendent of Loudoun County Schools, claimed at a school board meeting in June, to my knowledge, we don't have any record of any assaults occurring in our restrooms. Now, and by the way, if you remember that story we covered earlier in the week, the sheriff's department, on the other hand, said, yes, there is a record. They didn't release the young man's name who did the assault, but the sheriff's department had on record the same day that this dad said this incident occurred, I think it was on May the 28th, they had in their records an arrest of this young man, who, by the way, was transferred to another high school where he committed rape on someone else, another young lady. Well, now it comes out that, and remember, Scott Ziegler, who was the superintendent, basically had the sheriff's department arrest Scott Smith. And by the way, the attack on his daughter happened just weeks before the Loudoun County School Board approved their transgender policy, which would allow for such people as this young man, this biological male, to use the girls' restrooms if he identified as a female, or to use the girls' locker room if he identified as a female. Which, again, there are certain things that happen in life that are so predictable. And this is one of them, and it will happen again if things don't change. But now it comes out, according to Virginia law, the school board, the school system, the school districts must report any incidents of sexual assault that happens on their campuses. They must report them. Well, none of these incidents or any other incidents have been reported over years at Loudoun County. And what's really interesting about this, perhaps this is poetic justice, but the Loudoun County Superintendent, Scott Ziegler, who I am sure had a hand in having Scott Smith arrested, the dad of the little girl that was assaulted, Scott Ziegler, interestingly, can be held personally and criminally responsible for not reporting these incidents. Now, nothing will undo what happened to this little ninth grade young lady. But perhaps this will be a wake-up call. I would like to see Scott Ziegler held responsible on this. I would like the authorities to hold him accountable. Why? Not just for vengeance, but so it won't happen again. And listen, don't think that guys like Scott Smith can't sue the school board, can't sue Scott Ziegler. There was an incident just this week out in Nevada where a dad came to speak before a school board. Now, this was more related to the CRT and certain mandates related to COVID. But he served a $200 million lawsuit on the school board when he came up to speak to them at a public forum and let them know, please let it be known that you have been served. We'll see where that goes. Fox News is reporting and publishing a piece by Marco Rubio, senator from Florida. And this is really an interesting piece. Oh, the irony. He titles this piece, "It's Time to Fire John Kerry, Biden's Ethically Challenged Climate Czar." He writes, "For weeks, rumors have swirled in Washington about Joe Biden's climate czar, John Kerry, and his opposition to taking concrete action against the Communist Party of China and their use of slave labor. Now we may have an answer about his reluctance to take action, according to a new report. Kerry and his wife have at least $1 million invested in a Chinese investment group called Hill House China Value Fund, LP. Now, we have talked just this week about the conflict of interest with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and their dealings with Communist China. And now we find out that John Kerry has a conflict of interest. That fact alone arises serious questions as to whether Kerry can negotiate in good faith with Beijing on climate change, but it gets worse. According to the report, Hill House is a top shareholder in a Chinese technology company called Yi2 Technologies, which was blacklisted by the Trump administration in 2019 for being complicit in the surveillance, detention, and repression of the Uyghurs. The Uyghurs are the Muslim group that are located in communist China. The Uyghurs and others. In other words, Kerry appears to be profiting from slave labor. Now it makes sense why he's actively working against Rubio's Uyghur Forced Labor Act, which would make it impossible for products to be made with slave labor in China to be imported into the United States. Kerry has been working against this legislation and has convinced Joe Biden to stay silent on the bill. Well, we already know about Joe's conflicts of interest, so I'm sure John Kerry didn't have to work too hard to have Joe Biden stay silent on this. Joe Biden now has a choice: stand by the man profiting from slave labor or fire him. It should be an easy choice, but the Biden administration and some Democrats are so desperate for a climate deal with the Chinese Communist Party that they're willing to ignore the regime's use of slave labor. So does anybody think that if the Chi-Coms are willing to use slave labor, that they would have any moral convictions about lying when it comes to climate change and not fulfilling their commitments? I mean, this is about as ridiculous as thinking that the Taliban is actually going to listen to the Biden administration when it comes to women's rights in Afghanistan. Rubio goes on and writes, "We've seen this playbook before. What Biden is doing is not so very different from the nationalist corporations that supported his campaign. Companies including Nike, Apple, and Amazon benefit from slave labor or sourcing from suppliers that do. And this is why they previously fought against Rubio's Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. This is how they do business. And in their view, business is always more important than ending literal slavery or advancing the United States' national interest. Biden needs to decide where he stands and who he's fighting for." Well, that's pretty obvious. And it's not Americans. Right now, his silence is deafening, and it's giving over to the Marxists in both America and in China. Earlier this month, the AFL-CIO, the largest group of unions in the United States, whose leadership overwhelmingly supported the Biden-Harris ticket, said, quote, "Corporations should not be allowed to profit from this exploitation, and the working people of the United States must never be subject to competition with companies that use forced labor as a part of their production model." Kerry's not alone, though. Some Senate Democrats are lobbying to remove sanctions that are now in place on certain solar components coming directly or indirectly from China. As the AFL-CIO noted, slave labor is known to pervade the global solar energy industry in China. Now, the irony of this, think about this. These same people, the heads of companies at Nike, Apple, Amazon, these same Democrats in the House and the Senate and in the White House and in the Biden administration, these are the same people that want to advocate that we tear down our monuments, that we should be totally ashamed of our history, that we should destroy the Constitution because it was written by a bunch of rich white old guys. Listen, I acknowledge, and everybody acknowledges, that slavery was a black mark on our history. But it is within our history that we eradicated slavery. It was under the Constitution that we currently embrace, that we have embraced throughout the history of the founding of this country. It was under that Constitution that we eradicated slavery. It was once a part of our past, but it is no more. And anybody that is honest would agree with that. But these same people that want to tear down any vestiges of our past, these same people are looking the other way when it comes to slavery in communist China. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. Stay with us. I'll be right back.
Your trade is in high demand. That means your trade-in value has never been hotter. Get to Greenville Toyota now. We'll pay more for your trade than ever before. Get cash on the spot, even if you don't buy from us. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
What a terrible idea.
We're not packing it, we're unpacking it.
Vice President Harris, who has yet to actually travel to the border?
Not today.
And they need to come down here right now. Disperse from the area.
What's unfolding in Minnesota?
We are on fire. Infrastructure bill.
This is a massive welfare spending program.
Vaccines.
What's happening in the pandemic?
Clear information. It's news.
What happens next happens here on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. By the way, Mark Robinson, we've been talking about him all week and the fact that he is really come under attack for his stance for morality. And there is a website that you can go with, sign onto the website just saying, I agree with Mark Robinson, I support Mark Robinson. And if you want to go to that website, it's markrobinson4nc.com/Democrats_resignation, or you can go to encnewsandviews.com. There's a link there on our website to get to this, to sign on. He's up to about 21,000 signatures. It'd be great to see that get up to 100,000. PJ Media is reporting Adam Shifty Schiff has threatened criminal charges against any Republican that refuses to cooperate with the January 6th Commission. Adam, you know what? Your credibility was totally shot under Donald Trump. Why should we believe you now? PJ Media is reporting on several things that are happening right now related to the January 6th Commission. And some of them are actually hopeful. Some of them are a little on the negative side. Of course, Adam Schiff's always on the negative side. But 2 Washington, D.C. officials have been held in contempt of court for their treatment of the January 6th defendant, Proud Boy Chris Worrell. And a judge, Royce Lamberth, found prison warden Wanda Pattern and the Washington, D.C. Department of Corrections Director Quincy both out in contempt of court. Basically, Worrell is being held and without treatment for situations, medical situations that should have been treated a long time ago. It's quite obvious that these individuals, as another judge has pointed out, Terry McFadden, that the way we're treating the people arrested on January 6th, far, far, far more severe than those people that were arrested in 2020 who were burning down our cities. Hey, thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend. We'll do it again on Monday. See you at 5. Bye-bye, everybody.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. When people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and everybody gets along well, and you can tell that these guys and gals really know what they're talking about when it comes to interior design.
They do, and that's really what makes us different. We offer complete in-home design service. We don't charge a by-the-hour fee. It's a flat one-time fee. We work with you in here, in your home, in your business, and help pull everything together. All
right, it's more than just a fabric store. Fabric and Home Furnishings in Arlington Village. Come see this lady. She's fantastic. Fabric and Home Furnishings. Come see the renovations here in Arlington Village. And thank you for the visit today.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, you got to come see what they've done in the store here on Arlington Boulevard in Arlington Village.